to take you a few years back, but what was going on in your life professionally at the time that the role came up?
Um, what had happened? Well, I had just recently, I hate to say this, retired from baseball. Oh God, that
I
hurts
need
even.
to ask you about that too because I wanted to ask you. One of my questions was how hard was it for you to make that decision to retire
Oh
from
my God.
baseball?
Do we want to go back to that and then just go back into
Absolutely, let's do
where?
it.
Okay, retiring from baseball. That was I'm trying to think how many times I can't. I don't know if I can count. I can count. I had a couple times that I like literally was sitting in my car after practice, knowing that it was kind of shutting down. That I was just like crying in the front seat of my car, trying to hide it from like any of the other guys on the team walking by after practice.
Right.
It was like the most miserable experience. I can't even sugarcoat it. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do to walk away from that. It's when you spend it's a really interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't quite understand if you haven't been in the situation or if you haven't played a sport at that level with the intention in mind to make that your life or make that your career goal.
Hmm.
When you spend that amount of time every single day for that many years from the time that started playing t-ball and something I was like 4. So when you spend that amount of time dedicated to something like that and you put in that much effort, when it's finally over, it's not even so much that you don't get to do that anymore. It's this weird new phase of like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Hmm.
Which for me, thankfully and luckily for me, I had always had the acting thing. I've been balancing both of them since I was really young, so I kind of knew where I was going. But as an actor, there's a lot of downtime. It's not, you don't show up to the field a couple hours a day to work out with your teammates and get better every day. It's a whole new kind of work ethic, a whole new preparation. I've had to learn that, sitting at home in my apartment all day and watching 4 or 5 movies is actually a work day for me because that is my, that is my studying, that is my preparation.
I
So,
want your job.
yeah, I know. And that's the thing, like, it sounds so bad. Like, I almost don't, like, sometimes I almost just, like, sit at home and I don't watch any movies and I just end up sitting here all day because I'm like, I feel guilty telling people that, like, my job today was to sit home and watch 4 movies. But, like, but that's where you learn. That's how you
Right.
study it. And so it's a weird transition to kind of, go to that because, like, for me, if I'm not physically exhausted after a day's work, I don't feel like I was working. So it's been a weird transition. But that was a decision that I came to with Coach Gillespie. I had pulled my hamstring in the summer leading up to that last season. And before then, there was always a lot of meetings that I would turn down, either whether it would be a director's session for a movie when it was like 3 guys left in the running, and I would just be like, guys, I can't go. I'm sorry, I have practice. I can't make it. Which my agent loved me for.
Right.
But that was my thing. Baseball was my priority, and that's where I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So when the acting thing was convenient, I would do it. But other than that, it always took a back seat. So coming into that season with the injury and not being 100%, I started to take a few meetings here and there that usually I wouldn't have taken. And Skip and I had a long talk about what we both thought the future should be, and I just I asked him for some guidance and with his advice and with what we kind of mutually thought was best. As much as I wanted to stay and continue to do both, it seemed to be Skip felt I had a great opportunity in this whole acting thing, and so he expressed his support of what he thought that I could do there, and we both just decided, okay, well then I think it's best we'll play this last weekend against Tulane. I believe it was Tulane, and we had a walk-off hit in the 9th in the very last game, and it was a crazy weekend because a lot of guys have to hang up the spikes and they don't know that it's coming.
Right.
It just happens. They're told that they're done. For me, I had my last weekend of 3 games, and so those were like. I've never enjoyed baseball and my teammates for more than those 3 days because I just say anytime you see the end coming, you kind of all the things you take for granted and all the things you worry about, you kind of lose sight of that. So it was a crazy experience, but and definitely not an easy one. But yeah, so it was on to the next, and then that's actually Teen Wolf came pretty shortly after that. I think that was in That was towards May, and then I think Teen Wolf we booked that in December. So professionally, acting-wise, I've done a couple little guest spots here and there on a few things, but then I was gearing up for pilot season and actually ended up not having to do pilot season because they auditioned their pilots in December to get people early, and that's when that happened. And so I've still never actually had a full pilot season due to baseball. So we'll see. That one will still have to wait around for the future, but. Yeah, that was pretty much it, and we went straight into the production on the pilot in January or February, and we've been shooting ever since.
Well, I mean.